All right, guys. So for our world history lesson today, because it's almost the 19th anniversary of the September 11th attacks coming up soon, or 9/11 terrorist attacks coming up soon. So we are going to talk about the Hamburg cell in Germany, the secret Hamburg terrorist cell in Germany, where the four members, four individuals became a part of, and they became involved in planning the September 11th attacks on the United States in 2001. So there were four individuals. The founder of the Hamburg cell was Mohamed Atta, and there were three other members of the Hamburg cell: Marwan Al Shehhi, Ziad Jarrah, and Ramzi bin al-Shibh. So Mohamed Atta was basically the founder of the Hamburg cell, and he also led the hijacking teams during the 9/11 attacks, or prior to the 9/11 attacks. So Mohamed Atta was the pilot of American Airlines Flight 11 that crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center at 8:46 a.m., the first plane to crash. And then Marwan Al Shehhi was the hijacker pilot, or terrorist pilot of United Airlines Flight 175 that crashed into the South Tower at 9:05. And then Ziad Jarrah was the hijacker pilot of United Airlines Flight 93, in which he attempted to crash the plane into the United States Capitol building in Washington, D.C., but crashed into a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, due to a passenger revolt against the terrorists on board. So Ramzi bin al-Shibh did not participate in the attacks, and I'm going to explain why he uh, did not participate in the attacks, or how come he wasn't on the planes, on the four hijacked planes. So I'm going to talk about those four individuals, about where they came from and some of their backgrounds, and when they went to Al-Qaeda terrorist training camps in Afghanistan, and their decision to fight in Chechnya, and their decision to come to the United States to learn how to fly planes. So everything before 9/11 happened. So the first off, we're going to start with Mohamed Atta, the founder of the Hamburg cell. Mohamed Atta, the future ringleader of the 9/11 terrorist attacks on the United States, was born on September 1st, 1968 in Egypt to successful people who were very well educated. Mohamed Atta's father was a lawyer, and his mom was was an Egyptian woman, and they had been married since they were 14 years old. When Mohamed Atta was 10 years old, he moved to Egypt with his family, and Atta also had two older sisters who were very educated as well. And his family had like uh, medical degrees and a bunch of other degrees. So, and then in 1985, uh, when Atta attended the Cairo University. That's where he studied engineering and he studied architecture. So that was his profession he liked doing when he was in Egypt, when he was a young teenager or young man. Okay, so Atta he enrolled in Cairo University. That's where he studied engineering and architecture. And so he was also involved in an architectural program when he was in college during his senior year, I believe it was. And he was also the architecture program was under the rule of this Muslim Brotherhood organization. So by 1990, between 1990 and 1991 or two, Atta had graduated from Cairo University, and then his father wanted him to continue his studies abroad, and so Atta decided to go to Germany to continue his studies or study in another country. And so Atta arrived in Hamburg, or in Germany, in July 1992, in the summer of 1992. And so after moving to Germany in 1992, Atta had became very religious, and he was drawn to Al Quds Mosque, or Muslim church in the Germany. And that's where he became more and more his views became more and more radicalized, and then he was against the American foreign policies, and that's how he became brainwashed. And he was against the Muslims being killed in Bosnia, Chechnya, Palestine, and all the other Muslim nations throughout the Middle East. So, and then he was also angry because of the United States foreign policies in the Gulf War, which made Atta more and more angry. He was angry at the Americans. And in sometime in the late 90s, prior to the 9/11 attack, he said that one of the radical Islamists said that America is not untouchable. It's not untouchable. It's untouchable. And Atta said, no, it is touchable. So, and he said that, Atta also said that Saddam Hussein was an American stooge, and he hated America because that was where the Jewish American population was, because the Jewish American population was controlling the media, and so that's why he hated America. So, and the foreign policies in the Middle East, in the Muslim world. And so by 1995, Atta had went to Egypt to continue studying for 3 months. He arrived in Egypt in August of 1995. So this was just 6 years before 9/11 happened. And so he went to Saudi Arabia, Mecca, to make some prayers there for some purpose. And so 19 April 1996, Atta had signed his last will and testament, and that's where he basically wrote like what he was going to do after what he was going to do before he died. So, and then in 1997, 1997, another radical Islamist by the name of Ramzi bin al-Shibh had moved in with Atta, and they became roommates when they were in Germany in the University of Hamburg. So, and they became good friends, and they also attended the Al-Quds Mosque. That's the Muslim church in Germany. And so, and now I am going to talk about Ramzi bin al-Shehhi, and then I'm going to talk about the two other members of the Hamburg cell, Marwan Al Shehhi and Ziad Jarrah. So, Ramzi bin al-Shehhi was born on May 1st, 1972 in Yemen. He was born in Yemen. So when he was young, he attended high school, and his parents moved to a city in Yemen, Sena, if that's how you pronounce the city. And he attended high school, and shortly after attending high school, he worked at the International Bank of Yemen. Bin al-Shehhi worked as worked as a cleric at the International Bank of Yemen. And he would continue that for at least a short time, from 1988 to 1995, when he moved to Germany. So in 1995, Ramzi bin al-Shehhi attempted to get a U.S. visa so he could go to America, but his visa was rejected because he was a citizen of Yemen. And so he decided to travel to Germany, and that's how he became involved with the Hamburg cell, the secret terrorist cell in Hamburg, Germany. And so he wanted to have political refuge in Germany, because he wanted to have political refugee or political asylum refugee, from what I remember correctly. And then he told the German government, or when he was in the German embassy, he said that he took refuge from the Sudan, which is in Africa. So, and then there's not too much known. There's not too much details known about Ramzi bin al-Shehhi and his life, But we do know that Atta and bin al-Shibh met between 1997 and 1998. That's when they became close roommates, and they became good friends, and they were on pretty good terms. So, and then we're going to talk about the third member, Marwan Al Shehhi, and then we're going to talk about Ziad Jarrah. So Marwan Al Shehhi was born on May 9th, 1979 in the United Arab Emirates. And he was in after he attended high school, and in 1995 he graduated from high school, and Al Shehhi decided to join the Emirati military so he could fight against the Americans or something, or the against the enemy. And so, well, he took part in the army, and that also allowed him to continue his education abroad. And so Al Shahid decided to go to Germany to continue his education. So Marwan Al Shahid arrived in Germany in April of 1996, the same time when Ziad Jarrah arrived in Germany. So after moving to Germany in April 1996, al-Shehhi lived with a German family somewhere in Bonn. And he also attended the University of Bonn. And then some of his neighbors described al-Shehhi as very religious, and he was a friendly individual. So he was a nice person according to the German family or roommates he was living with during that time. And some of his roommates or some of the German family members in Germany claimed that Shehi used to rent cars, and he would drive to France and Belgium and the Netherlands, and he would used to drive his car there. And so Al Shehi He used to pray 5 times a day, from what I remember correctly. And he also attended the University of Bonn. And then in 1997, his father died. His father was a Muslim cleric who died in 1997, and his mom was either an Egyptian or Emirati woman. And there's also some reports stating that al-Shehhi was married in 1999. So because he got married during that time, and then in 2000 he returned to the United Arab Emirates to attend his wedding. So, and then in 1997 he had to go see his family because his family was very ill during that time, and so he had to go see his family. And so the university tried to stop him, and he went anyway. And so he returned to Germany, and he had to retake his exam test. So, and then he had kind of like struggles with his studies, so he couldn't focus on his studies that well. And so in 1998, Marwan al-Shehhi moved to Hamburg, and he became involved with the radical terrorist Islamic Hamburg cell with Atta and al-Shehhi and bin al-Shibh. And they would later plan the September 11th attacks, also known as 9/11. So now we're going to talk about Ziad Jarrah. Ziad Jarrah was born on May 11th, 1975 in Beirut, Lebanon, the capital city of Lebanon. And he was, and some resources claim that he was a Christian because he attended Christian schools, and some resources claim that he was a Muslim. So he was described as a very friendly person, like al-Shehhi, unlike Atta. So unlike Atta, Jarrah was a Christian because he attended Christian schools, and Jarrah had found the best bars in Lebanon, and he was in parties and stuff with his family and friends. So unlike Jarrah's jihadist or his radical Islamic jihadist friends, he was much different because Jarrah had almost withdrew from the plot because he really loved his family and his girlfriend. So, and then In 1990, between 1995 and 1996, Ziad Jarrah was living in Lebanon prior to moving to Germany in April 1996. In April 1996, Jarrah, together with his cousin Salem, arrived in Hamburg, Germany, and that's where he met his girlfriend, Isol Singwin, and they would date until Jarrah's death in 2001 when he took part in the hijacking of Flight 93. So yeah, and then Jarrah lived with his girlfriend, and he also lived with the other Hamburg cell members, according to some resources. And in September, I believe it was in September 1997, Jarrah had worked at a car shop or car paint shop in Hamburg, Germany. That was the Volkswagen. Uh, and he used to paint cars, from what I remember correctly. And then he became involved with the Hamburg cell in 1998, meeting Mohamed Atta, Marwan Al Shehhi, and Ramzi bin al-Shibh. And then his views became more and more radicalized. And so he became brainwashed like Atta, al-Shehhi, and bin al-Shibh. So yeah, Jarrah was the same, like compared with al-Shehhi and Atta, because those three men were studying engineering, and they were working with machines and stuff like that. And then Atta also worked in a computer company or something like that. He was putting the computers in boxes, from what I remember correctly. And so, and then in November 1998, so in the winter of 1998, the four men, Marwan al-Shehhi, Ziad Jarrah, Ramzi bin al-Shibh, and Mohamed Atta, had moved into an apartment building in Hamburg, Germany. And that's where they became involved planning the September 11th attacks and other terrorist attacks against the West and against the United States. So, and so between, I believe it was in late November or early November of 1999, the four men decided to fight in Chechnya against the Russian army at the time. So there's some reports saying that they actually went to Chechnya and they were fighting against the Russian soldiers. And there's some other reports saying that after they went to Chechnya, they went to go to Afghanistan, where they met with Osama bin Laden and the other Al-Qaeda leaders in the Germany. So the Al-Qaeda leaders in Afghanistan. Sorry. So they also met with other Al-Qaeda leaders, and they also told them about their secret mission, which was to hijack planes and crash them into America's largest buildings. So they didn't know so the four men did not know they were on a suicide mission. They knew they were going to attack the United States, and because because it's a Jewish American population, according to their point of view. So, and according to their perspective, and so the four jihadists, remained in Germany and remained in Afghanistan until between July or March 2000. So, and they trained for terrorist attacks, and the other 9/11 terrorists or hijackers trained at the Al-Qaeda training camps in Afghanistan. So they were also told about and they were also recruited by Osama bin Laden and other top Al-Qaeda leaders in Afghanistan. And so the first member to arrive from Afghanistan from the Al-Qaeda training camps was Ziad Jarrah, who arrived in Hamburg, Germany in late January 2000, after recording his last will and testament with Mohamed Atta. And so the second member to arrive in Germany was Marwan Al Shehhi, who attended his wedding in the United Arab Emirates. So after training in Afghanistan, he went to the United Arab Emirates to attend his wedding. So, and then after his wedding, he returned to Germany, and in early March or late March 2000, both men, Mohamed Atta and Ramzi bin al-Shibh, both returned to Germany. But before they returned to Germany, they had reported their passports stolen because they did not want the United States government to know that they were in Afghanistan, or the German government to know they were in Afghanistan. And so they applied for U.S. visas so they could enter America and take flight lessons in the United States. Shortly after that, they contacted Mohamed Atta, the future ringleader of the 9/11 attacks, had emailed different flight schools across America because none of the flight schools in Europe or in Germany were good for them. And so they prepared to move into the United States. And they would also take flight lessons there. So the first member of the Hamburg cell to arrive in the United States was Marwan Al Shehhi, who was the future hijacker pilot of Flight 175. And he arrived, his flight left Brussels in Belgium, the capital city of Belgium. And he landed at Newark International Airport in New Jersey. Almost a month later, on July 3rd, 2000, Mohamed Atta arrived in the United States for the first time, and his flight left Prague, the capital of the Czech Republic. And his flight landed at Newark International, also in Newark International Airport in New Jersey. A little bit later, on June 27, 2000, Ziad Jarrah had arrived in the United States after his flight left from Germany, and he also arrived in Newark International Airport. And so the men were looking for different flight schools across America, and they later ended up in Florida. So that's where the three men, Atta, al-Shehhi, and Jarrah, had attended a flight school known as Huffman Aviation. And they were also taught by their flight instructor, Rudy Deckers, who they basically trained at the flight school for at least a short time, from between July and June to December 2000 or July 2001. And so they remained there for some time. And then they were taking flight lessons. And then following the attack in 2001, the FBI, there was an FBI agent approached the flight instructor's house, and they said that they need the files for the three of the terrorists who attended his flight school. So, and then they lived in Florida, and then in early 2001, most of the other terrorists arrived in the United States so they could participate in the September 11th attack. And so on September 11, 2001, they finally executed their deadly mission, or their holy operation, or whatever they call it, or the Manhattan raid in the New York City. So Mohamed Atta had crashed the first plane into the North Tower, and then Marwan Al Shehhi crashed the second plane into the tower, and then Ziad Jarrah had attempted to crash his plane into the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., but failed due to a passenger revolt on Flight 93. So Ramzi bin al-Shibh did not enter the United States because his visa was rejected, and because he was a citizen of Yemen, and he was unable to enter the United States because that was the original plan. The original plan for the 9/11 attack was the four Hamburg cell members, which were Atta, al-Shehhi, Jarrah, and bin al-Shibh. Those were the four original members of the September 11th attacks. That was supposed to take place, but it didn't happen. So, yep. So I hope you enjoyed this history lesson, because September 11th is coming up soon. The 19th anniversary is coming up soon. So please drop a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys at my next history video. But goodbye.